How did a tiny, resource-poor strip of land, no bigger than the state of New Jersey, become the most fiercely contested and deeply cherished place on Earth? How did it become the spiritual home for half of humanity? For centuries, this question has echoed through history. In this journey, we promise to find the answers. We'll explore the sacred sites you know, but we'll also venture into the forgotten corners and hidden landscapes of Israel and Palestine to reveal what this ancient land is still keeping secret, even after all this time. You won't look at it the same way again. Our journey begins in a city that defies all logic. Jerusalem. It has been utterly destroyed at least twice, besieged 23 times, raided 52 times, and captured and recaptured an astonishing 44 times. Any other city would be a ghost, a footnote in a history book, and yet, after thousands upon thousands of years, it remains the spiritual center for over 3 billion people across the globe. Tucked between the sun-scorched hills of the Middle East, Jerusalem rises not just as a city, but as an enigma waiting to be unraveled. It's a place that is physically small. You could walk across its ancient core in just a few hours, but it is spiritually immeasurable. The weight of the stories etched into every single stone is almost overwhelming. This is not merely a location on a map. What you're looking at is the place where, for countless believers, the veil between earth and heaven is at its thinnest. It's a place where whispered prayers in the dead of night blend seamlessly with the sound of morning church bells and the haunting call of the muezzin. It is here that 3 of the world's great faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, trace their sacred steps back to this very ground. It's not just a shared space, it's a tangled root system of belief. Each faith opens a different door into a labyrinth of spiritual depth, a maze woven together with threads of history, profound hope, and a deep, uniquely human longing for connection to something greater than ourselves. The thing is, this city should not exist in the way it does, through centuries of relentless strife, of walls being torn down only to be rebuilt. Jerusalem still stands. And its foundation isn't just stone and mortar, it's built upon an unshakable spirit. It endures in the quiet, flickering glow of candlelight devotion, in the raw emotion of pilgrims who touch its ancient walls for the very first time, their tears flowing as if they finally made contact with something beyond logic, beyond the reach of time itself. To be here is to feel the immense gravity of human history. But the real secret of Jerusalem isn't just in its famous domes and walls. It's hidden in the details. For instance, the entire city has a unique golden glow, especially at sunrise and sunset. This isn't an accident of nature, it's by design. A municipal law going back to the British Mandate era requires all buildings to be faced with a locally quarried limestone known as Jerusalem stone. This law creates a stunning visual unity, making the modern city feel as ancient as the original walls. It's a subtle but powerful reminder that here, the present is always built with the pieces of the past. The city is a living museum, but also a bustling modern metropolis where life, in all its chaotic beauty, carries on. This city is a crucible, a place where faith is forged, tested, and expressed with an intensity that is hard to comprehend. The secrets of this city go even deeper than its surface. The Old City of Jerusalem today, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1981, is contained within massive stone walls built by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. But inside those walls, the city is divided even further into 4 distinct quarters. You have the Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Armenian quarters, and yet to call them separate is too simple. The thing nobody tells you is that they are intertwined like the blood vessels flowing through a single sacred heart, sometimes peacefully, sometimes painfully. For the Jewish people, Jerusalem is the heart of their heart. This is the place where King Solomon, a figure of legendary wisdom and wealth, built the first temple nearly 3,000 years ago. It was believed to be more than just a place of worship. It was the earthly dwelling of God's presence among humankind. That temple, a structure of unimaginable splendor, was destroyed by the invading Babylonians around the year 586 BCE. A second temple was built on the same site, and it too was destroyed, this time by the Romans in the year 70 CE. All that remains today is a portion of the outer retaining wall. But this wall, known around the world as the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall, has become something more. It is an eternal symbol of Jewish resilience, covenant, and unshakable faith. To stand before it is to witness a profound and continuous act of devotion. Here, prayers are whispered, tears are shed, and small folded pieces of paper carrying hopes, dreams, and pleas are tucked between the massive ancient stones like letters delivered directly to the heavens. What's amazing is the sheer scale of it. The visible portion is about 190 feet long, but the majority of the wall, nearly 1,600 feet of it, is hidden underground. You can actually take a tour through subterranean tunnels that run the length of the wall, where you can touch stones that haven't seen daylight in 2,000 years, some weighing over 500 tons. It's a jaw-dropping feat of ancient engineering. For Christians, Jerusalem is a living map of their faith's most pivotal moments. It's a place of pilgrimage, constantly alive with the footsteps of the faithful who come to walk in the path of Jesus Christ. It is here that he spent his final dramatic moments on earth. Here he carried his cross to Golgotha, was crucified, and where the empty tomb is believed to mark his resurrection from the dead. All of these sacred events, the crucifixion, the burial, and the rising, are commemorated under the roof of a single, sprawling, and somewhat chaotic building, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Millions of pilgrims from every corner of the globe come here to bow before the stone of anointing, where it is said his body was prepared for burial. The air inside the church is heavy with the scent of incense and the low murmur of prayer in a dozen different languages. It's a deeply spiritual moment that seems to still the very air inside the ancient church. What's fascinating and speaks volumes about Jerusalem is that the church itself is shared, often contentiously, by 6 different Christian denominations. The delicate balance is so fragile that the keys to the church have been entrusted to a Muslim family for centuries, a tradition meant to keep the peace. Throughout Jerusalem, every stone seems to bear the imprint of Jesus' footsteps. After the Last Supper, he went to the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives to pray in solitude. The olive trees in this garden are ancient, some with roots so old that scientists believe they could be descendants of the very trees that witnessed his anguish before he was arrested and brought before religious and Roman authorities. The next morning, he carried his cross along the narrow, winding Via Dolorosa, the way of sorrows, to Golgotha, where he was put to death in a final act of sacrifice for humanity's salvation. 3 days later, according to Christian belief, he rose from the dead. This is the triumph of life over death, the very foundation of the Christian faith. That is why every street corner, every dome, and every worn stone step in Jerusalem is not just a historical trace, but a place overflowing with faith and a powerful sense of longing that draws millions in quiet reverence and deep reflection. The Muslim Quarter is the largest and most populous of the four. It radiates a vibrant, chaotic life with its bustling bazaars, ancient mosques, and the call to prayer that echoes from tall, slender minarets 5 times a day. For Muslims, Jerusalem is Al-Quds, the Holy One, and it is their third holiest city after Mecca and Medina. It's the starting point of one of the most miraculous journeys in the Quran, the Isra and Miraj. According to tradition, it was from a sacred rock on the Temple Mount, or Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, that the Prophet Muhammad was carried by the angel Gabriel on a winged steed into the heavens to meet with God and the prophets who came before him. To honor this momentous event, Muslims built one of the most iconic structures in the world, the Dome of the Rock. Its radiant golden dome, which is actually covered in a thin layer of real gold, is visible from nearly every corner of the old city, standing like a beacon of eternal faith against the blue sky. Next to it stands the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a place of immense importance for communal prayer. And then there is the Armenian Quarter. It's the smallest, the quietest, yet in many ways one of the most remarkable and enduring. Tucked behind old stone walls and ancient monasteries, the Armenian community is like a low, steady, and beautiful note in the vibrant symphony of this sacred city. They do not seek attention or acclaim, yet they have faithfully preserved their unique language, their ancient rituals, and their ancestral faith for over 1,500 years. The thing is, they were the very first nation to adopt Christianity as a state religion way back in the year 301 CE. In a city shaped by countless cultures and powerful empires, the Armenian Quarter remains a testament to an unwavering loyalty to one's roots. It feels as if every stone here knows the stories of those who never shouted their presence, but steadfastly lived by their own truth, a quiet flame that has continued to burn through all the winds of time. These four quarters are a microcosm of the world's great faiths, pressed together in a space smaller than 1 square kilometer. But the story doesn't end at the city walls. It climbs a nearby hill, a place of endings and beginnings. Just a short walk from the heart of the old city across the Kidron Valley lies the Mount of Olives. This isn't just a hill with a nice view, it is a sacred site revered with incredible intensity by all 3 major monotheistic religions. Its slopes are covered in a sprawling ancient cemetery, and its peak offers one of the most iconic and breathtaking panoramas of Jerusalem. For thousands of years, this has been a place deeply connected to ideas of judgment, redemption, and the end of days. For Jews, the Mount of Olives is the oldest continuously used cemetery in the world. For over 3,000 years, it has been the most sought-after, final resting place. Today, more than 150,000 souls are buried here, all laid to rest facing the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. The reason for this specific orientation is a powerful belief rooted in prophecy. It is believed that when the Messiah comes and the resurrection of the dead begins, those buried on the Mount of Olives will be the very first to rise. The stones are a silent, waiting testament to this unwavering belief in a final, glorious redemption. Instead of flowers, visitors leave small stones on the graves, a tradition symbolizing the permanence of memory, unlike flowers which wilt and die. For Christians, this mountain is intimately linked with the final days of Jesus. As we mentioned, at its base lies the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus prayed with his disciples before his arrest. The sheer age of the gnarled ancient olive trees here is staggering. Higher up the slope is the Chapel of the Ascension. It's a small, unassuming structure that holds immense significance. Inside, a slab of stone is believed to bear the final footprint of Jesus on earth, marking the very spot from which he ascended into heaven 40 days after his resurrection. It is a place of profound finality and hope, commemorating the moment he departed from this world. For Muslims, the Mount of Olives also holds a crucial place in their understanding of the end times. They believe that on the day of judgment, a bridge, finer than a hair and sharper than a sword, will be stretched across the valley from the Mount of Olives to the Temple Mount. The righteous, it is said, will be able to cross this bridge safely into paradise, which will be on the other side. This belief makes the landscape itself a stage for the final divine drama of humanity. What many overlooked is that this single hill holds the weight of 3 different visions of eternity. It's a place where the past is buried, where the present comes to reflect, and where 3 faiths look forward to a future redemption. From this vantage point, you can truly grasp the dense tapestry of belief that makes this land so unique. The golden dome of the rock, the steeples of the churches and the ancient city walls all lie before you. A panorama not just of a city, but of human faith itself. The view is a powerful reminder that while beliefs may differ, the ground upon which these hopes are built is shared. The Mount of Olives serves as a silent guardian, watching over the city, holding the memories of the past and the promises of the future. From this Mount of Prophecy, our journey takes us to a small town just a few miles away, a place not of endings, but of a world-changing beginning. Located just 6 miles south of Jerusalem, a journey that should take minutes but can often take hours due to checkpoints, lies Bethlehem. It's a small city that holds an immense, almost disproportionate significance, both religiously and politically. According to ancient tradition, this is the city of David, the shepherd boy who became the legendary king of Israel. His story, a classic tale of the underdog, set the stage for this town's destiny. But more importantly, and for billions of people around the world, Bethlehem is believed to be the birthplace of Jesus Christ. This single event, said to have occurred in a humble manger because there was no room at the inn, would forever change the course of human history. For this reason, the city is revered as the cradle of the Christian faith. It's a place that symbolizes humility, hope, and the idea that something world-shattering can come from the most unassuming of origins. At the heart of modern-day Bethlehem stands the magnificent Church of the Nativity. This is not some recent monument. It was originally commissioned in the 4th century by order of Emperor Constantine the Great, the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. This makes it one of the oldest continuously operating churches in the world. It has survived invasions, earthquakes, and the relentless passage of time, remaining a powerful and stoic witness to history. Beneath the main altar, in a subterranean grotto, lies the focal point of devotion. A 14-pointed silver star is embedded in the marble floor. This star marks the exact spot where, according to a tradition that stretches back nearly 2 millennia, Christ was born. Each year, hundreds of thousands of faithful pilgrims from every nation on earth gather here. They wait patiently in long lines to kneel, to touch the star, to pray, to sing, and to commemorate the magic and mystery of the very first Christmas night. The air in the grotto is thick with reverence, a shared moment of awe that transcends language and culture. Yet, Bethlehem is not only a place that preserves a sacred ancient light. To put it mildly, it is also a city struggling with a harsh modern reality. It is a city deeply and profoundly affected by the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The thing you cannot escape in Bethlehem today is the towering concrete separation wall. This barrier, which Israel says is for security and Palestinians call an apartheid wall, snakes through the city. In places it is over 26 feet high, twice the height of the Berlin Wall. It cuts through neighborhoods, separates farmers from their olive groves, and divides people from their families, their work, and their hopes. And then, amidst the cold, grey slabs of concrete, another voice emerges. It's a voice of defiance, of sorrow, and of dark humor. It is the voice of resistance through art. The world-renowned and famously anonymous British street artist Banksy has transformed the walls of Bethlehem into a giant, provocative canvas. Here, he has painted some of his most iconic images, expressing powerful messages about politics, peace, and our shared humanity. Works like The Flower Thrower, where a protester lobs a bouquet instead of a rock, have become global symbols. You see the girl frisking a soldier, a startling reversal of power, and the dove with a bulletproof vest, a poignant and cynical take on the elusive nature of peace. These pieces have made the world stop and listen. They are more than just art. They are a sharp, witty, and heartbreaking reminder that even in times of profound struggle, people can still dream of freedom and use beauty as a weapon to confront brutality. Banksy even opened a hotel here, the Walled-Off Hotel, which boasts the worst view in the world, looking directly at the concrete barrier. It's a work of art in itself and a powerful piece of political tourism. Bethlehem is a city of dualities, the manger and the wall, the ancient carols and the modern spray paint, the story of a miraculous birth and the daily struggle for a normal life. From the tangible history of Bethlehem, we now delve into a mystery, a search for an object of unimaginable power that vanished from this land thousands of years ago. Amid the ancient legends of the Holy Land, one object stands out as perhaps the most sacred, powerful, and mysterious religious symbol in human history, the Ark of the Covenant. Also known as the Chest of God, its story is one of divine power, awe, and a disappearance that has baffled historians and archaeologists for centuries. According to the Hebrew Bible, the ark was a chest constructed from acacia wood and covered inside and out with pure gold. It wasn't its material that made it holy, but its contents. It was built to hold the 2 stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments, which were given by God to Moses on the summit of Mount Sinai. This was the physical manifestation of the covenant, the sacred agreement between God and the people of Israel. It is also believed to have contained a golden jar of manna, the heavenly food that sustained the Israelites in the desert, and Aaron's rod, the staff of Moses' brother, which had miraculously blossomed. Atop the ark's lid, which was called the mercy seat, were two golden cherubim, angelic figures with outstretched wings facing each other. This space between their wings was believed to be the very place where the divine presence of God, the Shekinah, would dwell whenever the ark was present among the people. To the ancient Israelites, the ark was not just a holy object, it was the physical, tangible manifestation of God's presence on earth. It was, in essence, God's portable throne. Its presence inspired awe and, frankly, a great deal of fear. Mishandling it or approaching it without proper reverence could have dire consequences, according to biblical accounts. It was housed in the Holy of Holies, the innermost and most sacred chamber of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. This was a space of absolute sanctity where only the high priest was permitted to enter, and even he could only do so once a year on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, to commune with God and seek forgiveness for the nation's sins. Beyond its immense spiritual significance, the ark was also regarded as a divine weapon, a tool of incredible power. In many of the Israelites' early battles, when the ark was carried into the field, they believed they were under God's direct protection. Its presence was said to have parted the Jordan River, brought down the walls of Jericho, and secured victory against overwhelming odds. It was the ultimate symbol of divine favor and might. Yet, the greatest mystery surrounding the ark lies in its sudden and complete disappearance from the historical record. After the first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, the ark vanished. The Bible, which meticulously recorded its history up to that point, goes completely silent. There is no definitive account of what happened to it. Was it hidden by the priests before the Babylonians sacked the city? Was it destroyed in the fires, or was it taken as plunder to Babylon, or perhaps somewhere else entirely? To this day, it remains one of the most enduring unsolved mysteries in both religion and archaeology. Theories abound. Some believe it is hidden in a secret chamber deep beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, waiting to be revealed. Ethiopian Christians have a powerful tradition that claims the ark was taken to their country centuries ago and now rests in a small chapel in the city of Aksum, guarded by a single monk who never leaves its side. Others have searched for it in Egypt, Jordan, and beyond. The quest for the ark has inspired countless adventures, both real and fictional. It represents a lost connection to the divine, a tangible piece of a miraculous past that, if found, could change the world. The ark remains a potent symbol of a lost golden age and a deep spiritual mystery that continues to captivate the human imagination. From the search for a lost artifact, we turn to a landscape that seems to have been lost in time itself, a place of stark beauty and extreme devotion. If Jerusalem and Bethlehem are places where stories of faith are told and retold, then the Judean desert is where those stories were born. This is the landscape of the prophets, a place of intense silence, spiritual testing, and unwavering devotion. It's a rugged, unforgiving wilderness of barren hills and deep canyons, stretching from the outskirts of Jerusalem down to the Dead Sea. But don't be too quick to think of this desert as an empty, barren land of sand and death. You see, this is a place that has nurtured some of history's most profound spiritual movements. Tucked into the sheer cliffs of a rugged canyon, the Mar Saba monastery rises like a fairy tale fortress carved directly out of the living stone. It seems to defy gravity, clinging to the rock face in a way that feels miraculous. Founded in the 5th century by a monk named Sabas, This Greek Orthodox monastery has upheld a life of strict asceticism and near total seclusion for more than 1,500 years. It has been continuously inhabited throughout that time, making it one of the oldest monasteries in the world. Life here is a world away from our modern, noisy existence. The monks follow ancient traditions, and in a rule that has been unbroken for centuries, women are not allowed to enter the main compound of the monastery. They can only gaze upon its incredible architecture from a nearby tower. In today's hyper-connected world, Mar Saba feels like a silent dream, a place where the human soul seeks communion with the divine, not through noise and ceremony, but through solitude, contemplation, and the overwhelming power of silence. Not far from there, an oasis of green appears in the desert landscape, marking the location of Jericho. This isn't just any city, it is widely considered to be the oldest continuously inhabited city in the entire world. Archaeological excavations have revealed evidence of settlement here dating back over 10,000 years. It's a place that has seen the dawn of civilization itself. Mentioned famously in the Bible for the dramatic tale of its walls falling to the sound of Joshua's trumpets, Jericho is also a cradle of ancient agriculture and urban civilization. The thing is, this city shouldn't thrive where it is. It's in the middle of a desert, but thanks to natural springs, particularly the powerful Ain Sultan spring, the city flourished as a lush oasis, sustaining life, agriculture, and human community across millennia. In a land defined by harsh conditions, Jericho stands as a living, breathing testament to the remarkable resilience and ingenuity of early human civilization. It is a reminder that with a source of water, life can bloom in the most unlikely of places. This desert was the sanctuary for prophets and mystics. It was here that John the Baptist began his ministry, and where Jesus is said to have fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, wrestling with temptation. The stark, raw beauty of the landscape seems to strip away all distractions, forcing a confrontation with oneself and with the divine. It is a place that challenges, purifies, and ultimately inspires. The Judean desert is not an absence of life, but a different kind of presence, a powerful spiritual silence that has shaped faith for thousands of years. But this desert is far from empty. Here, life exists in its most extreme and brilliant forms, a testament to the power of survival. For many, the desert is a symbol of emptiness, a vast sun-baked void where life struggles and fails. But that's a profound misunderstanding. To put it mildly, nature here is a relentless artist, and under the scorching sun and in the bone-dry air, it continues to write the most extraordinary stories of survival. Here, in the harshest of classrooms, life has learned its toughest and most beautiful lessons. On the steep, treacherous cliffs of places like Ein Gedi, a desert oasis, you can spot the Nubian ibex. With its magnificent curved horns and hooves that seem to defy physics, it climbs the sheer rock faces with an effortless grace. The secret is its soft, rubber-like pads on its hooves that act like suction cups, allowing it to grip the stone as if it were walking on flat ground. They are masters of their vertical world. In the profound silence of the desert night, a ghostly figure takes to the sky. The barn owl, with its heart-shaped face and dark, knowing eyes, spreads its wings. What many overlooked is that its flight is almost completely silent. Special serrations on the leading edge of its flight feathers break up the turbulence, allowing it to swoop down on its prey, unseen and unheard, with ghostly precision. By day, beneath the blazing sky, another remarkable survivor goes to work. The Egyptian vulture, a bird of striking intelligence, is one of the few animals in the world known to use tools. When it finds a large, tough ostrich egg, it doesn't give up. It finds a stone, picks it up in its beak, and repeatedly throws it at the egg until it cracks open, revealing the nutritious meal inside. It's a stunning display of problem-solving in a world where every calorie counts. On the ground, a flash of tawny fur streaks across the sand. The caracal, a medium-sized wild cat with distinctive long black tufts on its ears, is a marvel of athletic prowess. Swift and sleek like a living arrow, it has powerful hind legs that allow it to leap more than 10 feet straight up into the air to snatch birds in mid-flight. It's an ambush predator of incredible skill. And then there is the king of the skies. The peregrine falcon, the fastest animal on the entire planet, makes its home on these desert cliffs. When it spots its prey from high above, it goes into a hunting dive or a stoop. Tucking its wings, it plummets towards the earth like a lightning bolt, reaching speeds of over 200 miles per hour. It's an awe-inspiring display of speed and power, nature's own fighter jet. Meanwhile, perched patiently on a brittle twig, a true master of disguise waits. The chameleon. This creature is a living work of art. It changes its color not just for camouflage, but to regulate its body temperature and to signal its mood to other chameleons. Its eyes are even more incredible. They can rotate and focus independently, allowing it to look in 2 different directions at once. And when it spots an insect, its tongue, which is often longer than its own body, shoots out with blinding speed to catch its meal in the blink of an eye. All of these remarkable creatures are living proof that life does not just endure in the desert. It thrives, adapts, and evolves into forms of breathtaking genius. Life never gives up, not even here. From the survivors of the desert, we now journey to a place so extreme it seems life shouldn't exist at all, the lowest point on the face of the earth. Our journey now takes us to a place that feels like another planet. Welcome to the lowest point on the surface of the earth, the Dead Sea. Located at more than 1,400 feet below sea level, this is a geological marvel and a place of surreal, stark beauty. The air here is thick and hazy, and the sunlight feels different, filtered through a denser atmosphere. Despite its dramatic name, the Dead Sea is not actually a sea. It's a hypersaline lake, a massive body of water nestled between the borders of Israel, Palestine, and Jordan in the heart of the Jordan Rift Valley. Its name comes from its extreme environment. With a salt concentration of over 34%, more than 10 times that of a regular ocean, the water is so harsh that no fish, plants, or any other visible living organism can survive in its depths. Hence, the name Dead Sea. Yet this place is anything but lifeless when it comes to human experience. Its incredibly rich mineral content creates a fascinating and delightful phenomenon. The human body becomes effortlessly buoyant. You can lean back, relax, and float on the surface as if you were lying on a mattress. It's an impossible feeling, a gentle defiance of gravity that has to be experienced to be believed. You can read a book, chat with friends, all while being held up by the dense, silky water. This unique property has been recognized for thousands of years, as early as the time of Cleopatra. The Dead Sea's rich black mud and mineral-infused salts were prized for their therapeutic and cosmetic benefits. The mud is believed to relieve joint pain and treat skin conditions, while the minerals have been used in beauty treatments for centuries. The Dead Sea isn't just a destination, it's rightly called the oldest and largest natural spa on Earth. However, nature, even on this grand scale, is not immortal, and the Dead Sea is in grave danger. Since the 1960s, the Jordan River, which is the Dead Sea's main and almost only source of water, has been heavily diverted for agriculture and drinking water by the neighboring countries. To put it mildly, the consequences have been catastrophic. With its primary lifeline choked off, the water level of the Dead Sea has been dropping at an alarming rate of more than 3 feet per year. As the shoreline recedes, it has left behind a landscape that is both beautiful and terrifying. Thousands of massive sinkholes have appeared along the coast, some hundreds of feet deep. These sinkholes appear suddenly and without warning, swallowing roads, buildings, and entire tourist facilities. They are a dramatic and dangerous sign of an ecosystem in collapse. But the secrets of this region aren't just in the water, they're also in the caves that dot the surrounding cliffs. Near Qumran, on the northwestern edge of the Dead Sea, one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of all time was made by accident. In 1947, a young Bedouin shepherd, looking for a lost goat, threw a rock into a cave and heard the sound of pottery shattering. Inside, he found ancient scrolls hidden in clay jars. These were the first of the Dead Sea Scrolls. You see, over 900 manuscripts were discovered, some dating back more than 2,000 years. They include some of the oldest known copies of the Hebrew Bible, with familiar texts like Genesis and Isaiah, as well as previously unknown writings on the laws, rituals, and apocalyptic visions of a mysterious Jewish sect. Far more than an archaeological treasure, the scrolls offer a rare and priceless window into the spiritual world of the Second Temple period, the very era in which Jesus lived. They have revolutionized our understanding of the history of both Judaism and Christianity. The Dead Sea region is a place of profound contradictions, a body of water where you cannot sink, a dead sea that brings healing, and a dying sea that has preserved ancient life-changing secrets in its nearby caves. From the lowest point on Earth, we now ascend to a windswept plateau that has become a powerful symbol of defiance and the ultimate price of freedom. Perched atop a remote, isolated rock plateau on the eastern edge of the Judean desert, overlooking the vast, silent expanse of the Dead Sea, stands Masada. This is more than just an ancient military fortress with a spectacular view. For the Jewish people and for lovers of freedom around the world, it is a powerful, almost mythic symbol of resistance, courage, and the unyielding human desire to live free. Originally built in the late 1st century BCE by King Herod the Great, Masada was conceived as a luxurious and impenetrable desert refuge. Herod, a masterful builder but a deeply paranoid ruler, wanted a place to escape to in case of a revolt. The fortress he built was an engineering marvel. It featured massive storehouses capable of holding food for years, an ingenious system of cisterns to collect and store precious rainwater, and a formidable defense system of walls and towers. The thing is, it was designed to be a self-sustaining stronghold, nearly impossible to conquer by force. Herod even built a stunning 3-tiered palace that cascaded down the northern cliff face, complete with bathhouses and beautiful mosaics, a true kingdom in the sky. into the heart and soul of the Jewish people was not its builder, but the tragic and heroic event that unfolded there in the year 73 CE. After the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the Second Temple during the Great Jewish Revolt against the Roman Empire, a group of nearly 1,000 Jewish rebels, known as the Sicarii, retreated to Masada. With their families, they made this fortress their last refuge, their final bastion of freedom in a conquered land. For months they held out against the might of the Roman army, but the Romans were determined. They encircled the fortress and began an incredible feat of military engineering. They built a massive earthen ramp up the western side of the plateau. Surrounded and facing inevitable defeat, enslavement, or execution by the Roman forces, the defenders of Masada made an unimaginable and heartbreaking decision. They chose their own fate over a life of slavery. According to the historian Flavius Josephus, who is our only source for this story, their leader Eleazar ben Yair delivered a powerful speech, urging his followers to see that a death in freedom was better than a life in chains. In a final, desperate act of defiance, they made a tragic pact. They would not allow the Romans the satisfaction of victory. When the Romans finally breached the walls, they were met not with fighters, but with a profound and eerie silence. They found that the defenders had taken their own lives, a final solemn declaration that freedom was worth more than life itself. Today, Masada is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year who come not only for its dramatic desert landscapes and impressive archaeological ruins, but for its profound spiritual legacy. To stand on that plateau with the wind whipping around you is to feel the weight of that final choice. Every stone, every crumbling wall, every ancient stairway still seems to echo with the defiance of a people who, even in the depths of despair, held on to their dignity and their resolve. It is a timeless, heartbreaking reminder that even when all seems lost, the human spirit can still stand tall and choose its own destiny. The phrase, "Masada shall not fall again," has become a modern oath for many in Israel, a symbol of a promise to never be powerless again. From this monument to human history, we travel south to a place that is a monument to geological time itself, a wonder carved by nature over millions of years. Our journey now leads us deep into the heart of the harsh, arid Negev desert in southern Israel. Here, in this seemingly endless expanse of rock and sand, a breathtaking spectacle emerges. It is so vast and so surreal that it feels like stepping onto the surface of another world. This is Maktesh Ramon. It is a colossal crescent-shaped erosion crater, a massive scar on the face of the Earth. It stretches over 25 miles long and is more than 6 miles wide at its widest point, with towering cliffs that drop down over 1,600 feet. The floor of the Maktesh is a mesmerizing landscape. Twisted layers of rock, surfaces painted in a palette of deep reds, burnt oranges, golden yellows, and charcoal blacks, create a scene that looks like an ancient, earthbound color palette. It is a place of raw, silent, and overwhelming grandeur. Now, the thing nobody tells you is what this place actually is. Maktesh Ramon is not a volcanic crater, though its shape might suggest it, nor is it the result of a meteorite impact. In reality, it is a rare and magnificent geological formation found only in the Negev desert and a few other places on the Sinai Peninsula. The Hebrew word Maktesh actually translates to mortar, as in a mortar and pestle, which perfectly describes its shape. It's an erosion cirque, a deep valley surrounded by high cliffs. The story of its creation is a tale of immense time and patient natural forces. Over hundreds of millions of years, this area was covered by an ocean. Layers of sediment hardened into rock. Then tectonic activity began to push the land upward, creating a large, arched mountain range. As cracks formed in the top layer of hard rock, water began to seep in and erode the softer layers of rock beneath. Over millions of years of erosion by wind, water, and the changing climate, the entire center of the mountain range was slowly and methodically worn away and carried out by a single ancient river, leaving behind this vast, sunken valley, a dramatic cut across the surface of the earth. For geologists, Maktesh Ramon is a natural open-air laboratory. It's an ideal place to study the evolution of the Earth's crust. Each exposed layer of rock tells an ancient story. These layers reveal the history of prehistoric seas that once covered the region, the evidence of tectonic shifts that buckled the planet's surface, and the story of how time itself is etched into matter by the relentless forces of nature. You can see ancient volcanic intrusions, fossilized ammonites, and colorful sandstone formations. But beyond its immense scientific value, Maktesh Ramon offers a deeply spiritual and humbling experience. In its overwhelming vastness, one feels incredibly small, dwarfed by nature's raw, silent, and majestic power. It's a place that invites contemplation and quiets the mind, and by night, it transforms yet again. Because it is so remote and free of light pollution, it has been designated as an international dark sky park. There are no city lights to wash out the heavens, only the brilliant shimmering band of the Milky Way stretched in full silent glory above a crater that is millions of years old. Maktesh Ramon stands as powerful and beautiful proof that nature, with nothing more than patience and time, can craft wonders that are far beyond even the most ambitious human imagination without ever needing our intervention or approval. Our journey has taken us through landscapes carved by faith and time, from the heights of Jerusalem to the depths of the Ramon crater, a masterpiece of nature's patient artistry. Now, we turn from a wonder born of geology to one born of sheer human ambition, a place where a king's ego was poured into concrete and stone to face the endless horizon of the sea. We travel to the coast, to the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean, to a city of ghosts and glory, Caesarea Maritima. Nestled along the coastline, about halfway between the bustling modern cities of Tel Aviv and Haifa, lie the stunning ruins of a city that feels like a bridge between the ancient world and the eternal sea. This was a place built to make a statement. In the late 1st century BCE, this stretch of coast was little more than a dilapidated anchorage. But King Herod the Great, the brilliant, brutal, and deeply paranoid ruler of Judea, saw something different. He saw a canvas. This was no mere settlement he planned to build. It was a bold, audacious declaration of Roman grandeur and his own power, engineered to rival the great ports of Alexandria and Athens. He named it Caesarea, in honor of his patron, the Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus, a clear signal of where his loyalties lay. To put it mildly, this was Herod's masterpiece, a testament to his boundless vision and his burning desire to cement his legacy as a ruler favored by the most powerful empire the world had ever known. The thing nobody tells you about Caesarea is that it shouldn't exist. To look upon a map of the Levantine coast is to see an unforgivingly straight line, a sandy shore pounded by the Mediterranean with no natural coves, bays, or inlets to shelter a ship. Building a minor anchorage here would be a challenge. Building a massive deep-water harbor capable of servicing an empire was considered an almost impossible feat, even for the Romans. But the client, Herod the Great, was a man of impossible ambitions, and his engineers were geniuses. They accomplished a true wonder of the ancient world. They began by designing a harbor on a scale that rivaled Alexandria. To create this protected basin from nothing, they constructed two immense breakwaters, artificial arms of stone reaching into the sea. The southern mole was the larger, stretching over 1,600 feet into the open water, curving northward to shield the entrance from the violent southwesterly winds. A smaller northern mole completed the enclosure. Together, they created a vast protected anchorage of nearly 50 acres, which Herod named Sebastos, the Greek equivalent of Augustus, in a spectacular display of fealty to his Roman patron. The real miracle, however, lay not in the scale of the breakwaters, but in their construction. Lacking a local source of durable stone, Herod's builders turned to a newly perfected Roman technology, hydraulic concrete. They imported thousands of tons of a special volcanic ash called pozzolana from the region around Mount Vesuvius in Italy. By mixing this ash with lime, water, and rubble, they created a concrete with an almost magical property. It would set and harden underwater. The engineers built colossal wooden forms, essentially enormous watertight boxes the size of small buildings, towed them out to their precise locations and sank them. Then, day and night, laborers poured the concrete mixture into these submerged molds. The Mediterranean itself became a collaborator in its own conquest, as the seawater triggered the chemical reaction that fused the mixture into a solid, water-resistant mass, stronger and more durable than quarried stone. It was a feat so remarkable, so far ahead of its time, that its secrets are still being studied by marine archaeologists, who marvel at the monolithic blocks that have defied the sea for 2 millennia. The harbor was a triumph, capable of accommodating hundreds of ships at once and transforming this sleepy coast into a vital, bustling hub for trade, military power, and cultural exchange across the entire Mediterranean basin. But the harbor was just the beginning. Above it, Herod built a city to match its splendor, a gleaming metropolis of white marble and polished limestone that would have blinded the eyes of any sailor approaching from the sea. This was Caesarea Maritima, a city built on a Roman grid plan, with broad colonnaded streets and a sophisticated subterranean sewage system that used the ocean tides to flush the city clean. There was a grand Roman theater, its tiered seats carved into the shoreline, offering a perfect, breathtaking view of the deep blue water. Here, audiences could watch Greek tragedies and Roman comedies, the actors' voices carrying on the sea breeze. He built a massive hippodrome, a U-shaped stadium over 1,000 feet long, its track running parallel to the coast. The thunder of hooves from thrilling and often deadly chariot races would have drawn enormous crowds, their roars mixing with the sound of the crashing waves as the famed factions, the Blues and the Greens, battled for supremacy. There were luxurious public bathhouses, opulent palaces decorated with intricate mosaics, and a sophisticated system of aqueducts that defied the arid landscape. The high-level aqueduct was an engineering marvel in its own right. A graceful bridge of arches marching for over 10 miles across the coastal plain, carrying a ceaseless supply of fresh water from the springs of Mount Carmel to feed the city's fountains, pools, and homes. And towering over it all, in the most prominent position at the port's entrance, Herod built a magnificent temple dedicated not to any Jewish or local deity, but to Rome and the Emperor Augustus. Fashioned from the finest imported materials, it was designed to be the first thing mariners saw. Inside stood two colossal statues, one of Augustus, modeled after Phidias's legendary statue of Zeus at Olympia, and another of the goddess Roma, the personification of the city of Rome, modeled on the statue of Hera from Argos. The message was unmistakable and deliberately provocative. This was a Roman city, a bastion of imperial culture and pagan worship on the shores of a deeply traditional and often rebellious Jewish land. What many overlooked is that this was precisely the point. Caesarea was intentionally designed as a cultural crossroads, a Hellenistic polis grafted onto the Judean coast. It was a place where Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Jewish tradition would collide and coexist, sometimes harmoniously, but more often in a state of simmering tension. For Herod, it was a source of immense wealth and a symbol of his power. For Rome, it was a strategic foothold, soon to become the capital of the province of Judea. But for the pious Jews who looked upon its pagan temple, its graven images and its bloody spectacles, it was a profound and deeply offensive challenge. Caesarea was more than a city of marble. It was an idea made manifest in stone, a glorious, breathtaking, and ultimately combustible experiment in empire. For the Jewish people, Caesarea holds a complex and often painful place in history. It quickly became the seat of Roman authority in the province, the home of the Roman governor. It was here that Roman soldiers were garrisoned, and it was from here that Roman decrees were issued. The city's large non-Jewish population often clashed with its Jewish residents. And these tensions regularly flared into violence. What many historians believe is that the spark that ignited the Great Jewish Revolt in the year 66 CE the catastrophic war that ended with the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem was lit right here in the streets of Caesarea. Yet it was also a place of great intellectual exchange. After the destruction of Jerusalem, it became a major center of Jewish learning. Home to scholars like the great Rabbi Akiva, a key figure who helped shape the future of rabbinic Judaism for centuries to come. For Christians, Caesarea is nothing less than hallowed ground. It marks a pivotal turning point in the history of their faith. It was here in the house of a Roman centurion named Cornelius that the Apostle Peter is said to have had a divine vision that changed everything. As recounted in the book of Acts, Peter baptized Cornelius and his entire household. This was one of the very first recorded conversions of a Gentile, a non-Jew, to the fledgling Christian faith. That moment, right here in this Roman city, was the theological earthquake that opened the faith to the wider world, transforming it from a small Jewish sect into what would eventually become a global religion. The city's Christian significance doesn't end there. The Apostle Paul was imprisoned here for 2 years under house arrest before being sent to Rome for trial. Later, in the 3rd and 4th centuries, Caesarea became one of the most important centers of Christian scholarship in the entire Roman Empire. It was home to the theologian Origen, who assembled a monumental work of biblical analysis, and the historian Eusebius, often called the father of church history, whose writings are our primary source for the first 3 centuries of Christianity. The city's library was legendary, said to have held over 30,000 manuscripts, rivaling the Great Library of Alexandria. Today, Caesarea Maritima is a stunning national park and an archaeological treasure. A candidate for UNESCO World Heritage status. Visitors can walk among the magnificent ruins of Herod's Reef Palace, its foundations still being washed by the sea. You can sit in the beautifully restored Roman theatre, which is still used for concerts on summer nights, the ancient stones once again filled with music and voices. You can stand in the hippodrome and imagine the thunder of hooves, or gaze out at the line of the aqueduct stretching into the distance. The sea has reclaimed large parts of the ancient harbor, but its submerged breakwaters are a haunting, visible reminder of both human ingenuity and the relentless, patient power of nature. Standing here with the warm Mediterranean wind on your face and the sound of waves echoing in the ruins, you can feel the pulse of the many empires that rose and fell on this shore. It is a place of incredible beauty, but also a place that tells a story of cultural collision, of conquest, and of the birth of ideas that would go on to shape the very world we live in. It was a city built to project power, but its true legacy lies in the faiths and philosophies that passed through its gates and were forever changed. From this grand city that opened the Holy Land to the empires of the sea, we must now journey inland, deep into the rocky heart of the hills, to a city that feels locked in time, a place of shared fathers and tragically divided sons. We travel now away from the open sea and climb into the rugged hills of the West Bank, about 20 miles south of Jerusalem. Our destination is Hebron, one of the oldest and most continuously inhabited cities in the entire world, and a place of profound, almost crushing spiritual weight for both Jews and Muslims. Known as Al-Khalil in Arabic, which means the friend, a direct reference to the prophet Abraham, who is called God's friend, Hebron is a city where the ancient past feels as immediate and as raw as the troubled present. It is a place where a shared sacred reverence for a single site has, in a bitter paradox, both united and violently divided its people for generations. At the absolute heart of Hebron, physically and spiritually, stands a monumental, fortress-like structure. This is the Cave of the Patriarchs, also known to Muslims as the Ibrahimi Mosque and to Jews as the Tomb of Machpelah. According to the traditions of all 3 Abrahamic faiths, this is the final resting place of the founding fathers and mothers of their people. Here lie the venerated remains of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah. figures so central to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam that they form the very bedrock of their shared origin story. For Jews, this site is their second holiest place on earth, surpassed only by the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. For Muslims, it is one of their most important pilgrimage destinations in the world. The structure you see today, the massive stone edifice that encloses the caves below, is an architectural marvel in its own right. The lower courses of its towering 70-foot-high walls were built by none other than King Herod the Great over 2,000 years ago. The stones are immense, some over 24 feet long, and they are laid without any mortar. A testament to his architectural genius. They are the very same style as the foundation stones of Jerusalem's Western Wall. Over the centuries, the building has been a Byzantine church, a mosque, a Crusader church, and then a mosque again. The thing is, this building's history is a perfect reflection of the land's history, a story of faith and conquest, layer upon layer. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of old stone carpets and the weight of countless prayers offered across millennia. Elaborately decorated cenotaphs or symbolic tombs mark the traditional burial sites of the patriarchs and matriarchs. But what is most striking and most heartbreaking about this sacred space today is its division. Following a tragic event in 1994, the site was split into separate Jewish and Muslim sections, with Israeli military checkpoints and bulletproof glass now dividing a space that was once shared. It is a place where two peoples pray to the same ancestors, often just feet from each other, yet they stand worlds apart, separated by barriers of steel and fear. To stand in Hebron is to feel the immense, crushing weight of history with every step. It is a city of ancient, sun-bleached stones that have absorbed the prayers, the commerce, the bloodshed, and the tears of millennia. The very air seems thick with memory, a place where the spiritual and the political are so inextricably intertwined that they have become one. Hebron is a name derived from the Hebrew word for friend, Hava, and its Arabic name, Al-Khalil, carries the same meaning, an honorific for the patriarch Abraham, revered as the friend of God. Yet this city, named for friendship, has become a global symbol of intractable conflict. A microcosm of the Israeli-Palestinian struggle in its most raw and painful form. Here, the shared reverence for a common ancestor has not forged a bridge, but has instead carved a chasm of seemingly unbridgeable division. For the Jewish people, Hebron is a city of primordial, almost terrestrial significance, one of their four holy cities alongside the celestial heights of Jerusalem. The mystical air of Safed and the scholarly lakeside of Tiberias. Yet Hebron's sanctity is distinct, less concerned with prophecy or rabbinic exegesis and more with the very earth itself. Its sacredness is not a matter of later interpretation, but is rooted with unshakable firmness in the foundational narrative of the Hebrew Bible. The book of Genesis describes with meticulous, almost legalistic detail how Abraham, the first patriarch, a semi-nomadic wanderer defined by his impermanence, sought a permanent resting place for his beloved wife Sarah upon her death. This was a moment of profound transition from a life of divine promise lived in tents to the establishment of a physical, eternal anchor in the soil of Canaan. He approached the Hittites of Hebron, the established local power, not as a conqueror, but as a supplicant and a peer. In a public negotiation recorded for posterity, he formally purchased the field of Ephron and the cave of Machpelah within it. The text emphasizes the transactional nature of this event. Abraham insists on paying the full price 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant, ensuring the purchase is witnessed, legally binding, and beyond future dispute. This transaction is profound. It was the very first piece of the Promised Land to be owned by the Israelite forefathers, an act that established a permanent, foundational, and incontrovertibly acquired connection to the land. This was not a conquest of force, but a commercial and legal purchase, a deed of title that echoes through millennia. The cave would become a dynastic tomb, the final resting place for not only Sarah and Abraham, but for Isaac and Rebekah and Jacob and Leah, the patriarchs and matriarchs who constitute the wellspring of an entire nation. Hebron thus became the first capital of this nascent people, the site of their first sovereign plot of earth and the physical vessel holding their ancestral memory. For the vast centuries that followed, this connection endured. A Jewish community, at times flourishing under benevolent rulers and at times dwindling under persecution, maintained a continuous presence in the city. Through Roman, Byzantine, early Islamic, Crusader, Mamluk, and Ottoman rule, they remained living as scholars, mystics, and merchants alongside their Muslim neighbors in the shadow of their ancestors' tomb, which itself had been encased in a massive Herodian structure and later consecrated as the Ibrahimi Mosque. This long, complex history was one of coexistence, albeit often as a subordinate, protected minority. They prayed at the tomb, studied in their synagogue, and wove their lives into the fabric of the ancient city, seeing themselves as its original stakeholders. This ancient continuity, however, was violently and irrevocably shattered by periods of terrible violence. The most traumatic and definitive of which was the 1929 Hebron massacre. In the heated political climate of the British Mandate, tensions between Jewish and Arab national aspirations were reaching a boiling point. Fueled by incendiary rhetoric and false rumors circulating from Jerusalem about a Jewish plot to seize the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount, Arab rioters, whipped into a religious and nationalist frenzy, descended upon Hebron's ancient Jewish quarter. The attack was not a spontaneous clash, but a calculated and savage pogrom. For 3 days, they went on a rampage of unimaginable murder, torture, and looting. The horror was intimate and personal. Neighbors turned on neighbors. Mobs armed with knives and clubs broke into homes that had been occupied by the same Jewish families for generations and butchered them without mercy. Infants were slain, women were violated, and respected elderly scholars were tortured before being killed. Synagogues, including the historic Avraham Avinu Synagogue, were ransacked and desecrated, and sacred Torah scrolls were torn and burned in the streets. When the violence finally subsided, 67 Jews lay dead and many more were horribly wounded. The surviving members of the terrorized community, their world destroyed, were evacuated by the British Mandate authorities. This evacuation, though intended to save lives, brought an abrupt and brutal end to one of the oldest continuous Jewish communities in the world. The 1929 massacre left a deep and painful scar on the collective Jewish psyche. It was more than a tragedy. It was a profound symbol of vulnerability and perceived betrayal, cementing the Zionist argument that a sovereign state was the only guarantee of Jewish safety. The empty synagogues and homes in Hebron became a silent, aching testament to a severed lineage. For decades, this wound festered, and the story of the massacre became a foundational narrative for the modern settler movement. In the aftermath of the 1967 Six-Day War, when Hebron came under Israeli control, a new generation of Jews saw an opportunity not for colonization, but for reclamation. For them, establishing a presence in the heart of Hebron is not a new political venture, but a righteous, determined, and sacred duty to return to a home from which their people were violently and unjustly expelled, replanting their roots in the very soil that Abraham first purchased as an eternal inheritance. For Muslims, the magnificent structure built over the sacred cave is the Ibrahimi Mosque, a place of deep and profound devotion. They honor Abraham, or Ibrahim, as a great prophet, a forefather of Islam, and Khalil-ullah, the friend of God. His story in the Quran emphasizes his unwavering submission to God's will, making him a central figure of piety and faith. The mosque itself is a testament to the layers of history it has witnessed. The massive stone enclosure was constructed by Herod the Great. It later became a Byzantine church, then a mosque following the Muslim conquest in the 7th century. Its serene and beautiful interior, with its intricate carpets, ancient pulpit gifted by Saladin, and high-arched ceilings, is a space of quiet reflection and communal worship. 5 times a day, the call to prayer resonates from its minarets, echoing through the ancient stones and the narrow, winding alleyways of the old city. The city's Arabic name, Al-Khalil, speaks to this deep affection and reverence, cementing its identity as the city of the prophet Ibrahim. It is, for the Muslims of Hebron and the wider Islamic world, a sanctuary, a place of immense spiritual power and communal identity. Yet, to put it mildly, Hebron today is a city of stark, unavoidable, and militarized division. The terrible event that precipitated the formal splitting of the holy site was the 1994 massacre. On a cold February morning during the holy month of Ramadan, a radical Jewish settler from the nearby settlement of Kiryat Arba, Dr. Baruch Goldstein, entered the Ibrahimi Mosque. Dressed in his Army Reserve uniform and carrying his military-issued rifle, he walked into the main prayer hall, where hundreds of Muslim worshippers were kneeling in the midst of their dawn prayers. He then opened fire, systematically moving through the hall. In the end, he took the lives of 29 men and boys and injured over 100 more before being overwhelmed and killed. In the aftermath of this horrific act of terrorism, the Israeli military imposed harsh restrictions on the city and formally divided the tomb of the patriarchs. A system of checkpoints, turnstiles, and separate entrances was established, carving the holy site into a synagogue and a mosque with distinct prayer times and access points, forever altering the character of the shared space. The city itself was soon carved up under the 1997 Hebron Protocol. About 80% of the city, designated H1, was placed under the control of the Palestinian Authority. The remaining 20%, including the historic Old City and the Holy Site, was designated H2. Here, Israel retained full security control to protect a few hundred Jewish settlers who live in small, heavily guarded enclaves amongst tens of thousands of Palestinians. The result is a surreal and deeply tense urban landscape, a city at war with itself. Hebron's Old City, with its once vibrant souk and historic Mamluk-era stone homes, is a microcosm of the entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Walking through its streets is an experience like no other. In some areas of the market, Palestinian shopkeepers have put up wire mesh and nets above their stalls, creating a grim, cage-like ceiling. The purpose of this netting is to catch the rocks, bags of garbage, bottles of dirty water, and even use diapers that they say are regularly thrown down at them by settlers living in the apartments directly above. The main thoroughfare, Shuhada Street, Martyr Street, which was once the bustling commercial and social heart of the city, is now an eerie ghost street. Following the 1994 massacre, it was progressively closed to Palestinian vehicles and, in large parts, to Palestinian pedestrians as well. The metal doors of hundreds of shops have been welded shut by military order, their fading signs a testament to a vibrant life that no longer exists. Israeli soldiers stand guard at checkpoints, their presence a constant reminder of who is in control. The daily lives of Palestinian families in H2 are dictated by this constant military presence, a grinding reality of friction, humiliation, and a constant struggle for existence, where a simple trip to school or the grocery store can involve navigating a series of military inspections. Walking through Hebron's narrow, winding streets, you feel the impossible tension in every stone, in every suspicious glance, in every whispered prayer. It is a city that holds the sacred memory of humanity's shared origins, a testament to a time when different faiths could see their own story in the same patriarch. Yet it simultaneously bears the fresh, open scars of its deepest, most modern divisions. It is a living, breathing monument to the profound complexity of faith, land, and identity in this ancient and holy land. The paradox is almost too much to bear. A place named for friendship, for companionship, for a shared covenant with God has become a global emblem of intractable, violent conflict. Our journey through Israel and Palestine, from the sacred, contested stones of Jerusalem to the silent, geological depths of the Ramon crater, from the Roman splendor of Caesarea Maritima to the divided, weeping heart of Hebron, reveals a land where faith, memory, and raw humanity have intertwined for thousands of years. This is a place of breathtaking beauty that can bring you to your knees, of profound sorrow that can shatter your heart, and of an unyielding, almost illogical hope that continues to flicker in the deepest darkness. Hebron, more than any other place, forces you to confront the devastating consequences of a dream of return when it collides with the reality of another's existence, leaving you to wonder if the ghosts of this city will ever find peace. In a land so defined by its past, can its people ever truly build a shared future? If you found this journey meaningful, please like the video and subscribe. Your support helps us share more extraordinary stories. Thank you.